Our story starts out with a young woman named Wakana, the heiress of the prestigious Hanazono family. Despite the formal distance between them, she longed for a deeper connection with her longtime butler, Natsuki, something more than the traditional bond of a mistress and a servant. That morning, Wakana had just woken up. Still yawning, she wandered into the kitchen where the smell of warm food greeted her. Natsuki, already there, smiled at her as she entered, offering a polite, "Good morning." She returned the greeting and immediately noticed him holding a plate of sandwiches. Curious, she asked if that was what he had made for lunch. Natsuki nodded and began explaining that he had prepared egg sandwiches, her favorite. But before he could finish what he was saying, Wakana reached over and snatched one. She took a bite without hesitation, munching on it cheerfully, almost like a playful wabbit. After a few bites, she beamed at him with satisfaction, complimenting the taste and telling him, as she often did, that he had always been a fantastic cook. Natsuki gave a small, appreciative smile, but gently reminded her to mind her manners. After all, as the Hanazono heiress, her public behavior reflected on the family. Wakana pouted at the comment. As she turned and walked away, she threw a teasing remark over her shoulder, saying he had been much nicer when they were younger. These days, he seemed more uptight, and the only constant was how he still followed her around like a shadow. Flustered, Natsuki explained that he only did so out of concern. He worried about her, especially now that she was living on her own near her school. At that, Wakana suddenly turned around, a mischievous glint in her eyes, and asked with a bright smile if he wanted to take a bath with her. The question caught Natsuki completely off guard. He froze, his face turning red, unsure if she was serious. Wakana, who was unfazed, clarified with a grin that she had finally moved into the apartment next door to him. Since they had bathed together as kids, she said, it shouldn't be such a big deal now. Natsuki, now composed, looked away and reminded her that they were adults, that those innocent days were long behind them. He quickly changed the subject, urging her to get ready for school. But Wakana didn't give up. She pressed him not to dodge the question, though he pretended not to hear her. Later that day, Natsuki drove her to school. As the car pulled up to the gates, we find out that Wakana's prestigious academy was located far from the family estate, so she rented an apartment nearby, and Natsuki had been assigned to care of her until she graduates. After dropping her off, he returned home and got started on chores. While folding laundry, a familiar rhythm took over. But his thoughts wandered. Natsuki had served the Hanazono family since he was young, and over the years, he and Wakana had grown close. Though he remained dutiful, his feelings for her had evolved. He couldn't stop himself from falling for her. He was the only one who saw her true self, and when they were alone, she dropped her composed facade to reveal a charming, playful side that only he knew. That made it harder to stay detached. He sighed, realizing he had loved her for a long, long time. But as a servant, he had convinced himself he wasn't worthy. So, without ever expressing his feelings, he decided to quietly give up. While folding clothes, his hands suddenly froze. He had stumbled upon one of Wakana's more daring undergarments. His heart skipped a beat, and he scolded himself for reacting so immaturely. Still, it was another reminder that she was growing up, in many ways, and growing more distant. Later in the day, he went to pick her up from school. As she slumped into the back seat, Wakana sighed and complained about how exhausting her day had been. Natsuki encouraged her, telling her she'd done well. She curled up slightly, her tone softening as she called his name. When he asked what was wrong, she hesitated, then admitted, blushing, that someone had confessed to her that day. Natsuki stiffened, but quickly masked his emotions and replied calmly, "Is that so?" Wakana didn't like his indifferent tone. She asked him outright if he had any thoughts about it. Natsuki, gripping the steering wheel tighter, said it was her choice. Frustrated, Wakana kicked the back of his seat, making him yelp in surprise and scold her for being reckless. Back at home, Wakana stepped into the bathroom to take a bath. As she gazed into the mirror, looking at her bare skin, droplets running down her face, she gently hit her head against the glass. She wondered aloud if Natsuki truly didn't care about other people seeing her in her birthday suit. Frustrated, she muttered that he was an idiot. Meanwhile, Natsuki was in the kitchen, stirring a pot absent-mindedly. His mind kept circling back to the confession Wakana had received. He reminded himself that she wouldn't stay by his side forever. Someday, she'd fall in love, get married, and leave. That thought alone made his chest tighten. The more he considered it, the more unsettled he became. Then, he heard Wakana's voice call out to him from the hallway. When he turned, his eyes widened in shock. There she stood, drenched from the bath, with her birthday suit on, water dripping down her hair, her body onto the ground. His face flushed red as he rushed towards her with a dry towel, asking what had happened and urging her to put something on. But she ignored his concerns. Instead, she asked if he thought she was attractive. He hesitated, completely thrown off. Wakana stepped closer. She told him, quietly but firmly, that although someone confessed to her, she already had feelings for someone else. Someone she'd known since childhood. She admitted that even though she was close to this person, he always kept his distance, and she was growing impatient. As she spoke, she gently pushed Natsuki backward, closing the space between them and making sure he fell on the couch with her looking at him from above. Then, with a zip, she took something out and with a schlup, she put it somewhere. You know what I'm talking about, you all do? Anyway, she confessed, saying that it hurt when he acted like he wouldn't care if she dated someone else. Tears welled in her eyes as she called him mean. Her voice trembled as she told him she didn't want anyone else, because she loved him. At that moment, Natsuki's resolve shattered. He pulled her into his arms, voice strained with emotion, and confessed that he had always loved her. He admitted he had given up before even trying, believing he wasn't worthy because he was just her servant. With his hand on her cheek, he apologized again and again for making her feel alone. Wakana, finally smiling through her tears, asked him if he truly loved her. When he nodded and said yes, she placed his hand against her cheek and whispered, asking him to kiss her. After sharing a sweet, tender kiss. After the deed. The next morning, Natsuki dropped Wakana off at school. He bade her farewell and wished her a pleasant day. But before he could leave, she kissed him and lovingly said, "We're lovers now, so this is fine, right?" Natsuki, still blushing, smiled back. He was speechless, but happy. The title or sauce is Chikakute Tui Anata.